What is up, guys, and welcome back to Flow State. It is episode 17 today, would you believe it? And the boys who are king of consistency, as we've just been talking about on air, are back to chat about another training week. And we've got a few talking points, actually. Normally off air, Adam and I kind of catch up on how things are going, but we haven't really spoken this week. So we've got a few talking points, some things to go over, and again, just get out our thank yous as always to everyone that's giving us lovely feedback on the podcast. Really appreciate it, and glad to hear that you guys are enjoying it. And look, it wouldn't be a Flow State podcast unless I started by commenting on how lovely the weather looks behind you. Yes, that's right. It is weather chat with Luke and Adam to kick things off, and the sun looks like it's what's the term? Splitting the stones by any chance?
Splitting the stones, that's the one, mate.
Fantastic.
Well, it is splitting the stones right now, but it has been the opposite of what we've been talking about this last few weeks. The weather hasn't been great, mate.
No.
It's, in fact, I was out for a walk on Monday night and got drenched, pretty much.
No.
Absolutely drenched. But listen, it's fine. It's grand. We live in Ireland, so that's to be expected now and then. So
As
right
long
now,
as
the sun's out.
it comes out for the podcast recording. That is the main thing, right?
It's the main thing. So there hasn't been much drying this week. The weather coincides nicely with the laundry routine, and
True.
yeah, it hasn't been as easy to get the clothes dried this week with the rain that we've been having. So yeah, there's probably been a month's worth of rain in the last few days, but yeah, it's all good. I think we're going to be getting some nicer weather coming in. But I was actually going to mention your haircut, mate. We've both had our hairs cut, and we're feeling lighter, fresher.
Aerodynamic.
Better. Aerodynamic, yeah. But no, mate, you're looking well. You're looking
Thank
well.
you, man. Yeah, I see, the first thing is funny. The first thing I noticed when I saw you on camera, I was like, oh, Adam's got a little bit of a shape up. The sides are looking, what's that, a number one down the sides. He's looking very kind of, man, it's the, not many people can pull off the curtains, and I'm kind of jealous because I've got a terrible hairline, hence my my lovely fringe that I have had now for years. But yeah, man, the boys are feeling good. There's something about, I think, like a haircut and if you get like a shave or trim up the beard, it's like makeup for men, isn't it? You just walk out of the barber or walk out seeing a hairdresser, like, man, I feel million bucks right now, right?
It is. Well, I can speak for the hair. I can't speak too much about the beard, as you can see. There's
Yeah,
there's not a lot. There's not a lot here to talk about.
Yep.
I do have a shave every couple of days, but it's yeah, I'm not getting rid of very much. So I think with
it's a blonde thing, isn't it?
it's a blonde thing, mate. With
I
the
can't.
fair hair.
Bro,
I don't
that's
think
all
the
I can
listeners
get.
believe, but we're both natural blondes, and
We are.
it can be tricky to grow out any kind of facial stuff.
Yeah.
I'm 30 going on 15-year-old when it comes to beard growth.
100%.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot here to talk about, but I'm feeling a bit embarrassed now.
It's got a bit red. By the looks of it. Perks of being blonde as well.
We've both had a haircut. In fact, Kira gave me a little haircut last Friday, so I hadn't had a haircut. I don't get my haircut very often, because I do kind of keep it relatively, like, I don't keep it really tight or anything like that. Like my brother-in-law, he gets his haircut every 2 weeks, like religiously, like, you know, maybe even more often, but I think it's every 2 weeks. And I know lads that get their haircut every Friday in life. It's just like their routine. But no, I'm probably more of a every 5, even 6 weeks sometimes. So it had got a little bit sort of, I don't know, messy down my neck. And we were heading out on Friday night, as I was chatting to you last week, for my cousin's 40th. So
yeah,
Kira gave me a little shape up, as you like to say, on Friday night. Just trimmed like my neck, and sort of went kind of. She was, I think she was feeling a bit brave, you know, because she kind of started to trim up into the actual hair with just like a like an electric razor that I have at home, and she was she was definitely feeling braver than usual, because she took a bit of stuff off, and then I was like, you need to show me a picture of this, because I'm pretty worried, because she started to laugh and stuff, and I was like, you've made a complete botched job of this. So she took a video, and of course there was a bit too much off, and I was like, what have you done? So we kind of had to fix it up a bit, and then listen, it all turned out fine, to be fair. It was grand. And then I was actually getting my hair cut on Wednesday, so Roger, who I've been going to for a long time, he was like, she actually done a really good job. Whether he was being sarcastic or not, I don't know, But
Yeah,
I've had the proper haircut now. Sorry,
fan-
Kira.
that's
Um,
fantastic.
this week. So
And
yeah, mate, you always
all I
feel better
can
after a haircut, don't you? You're like a new man.
100%. And all I can picture is Keen and I kind of getting a bit brave and then going, now, Adam, look, trust me, I got this. And then just Adam going, now, sweating, man. This ain't good. And for the record, this is
Yeah.
terrible podcasting because if you're not watching on the on the stream, what you're missing is Adam and I looking very handsome indeed, like solid 7 to 8 out of 10. Each. Now, Adam's a solid 9. I'll give him that. But look, we've got the ice broken and the banter out the way, man. What's been happening on the running front? Have we been
Yeah,
on Strava?
running's been decent, mate. I haven't been on Strava, so I've been logging plenty of secret training. Nah, I just don't post much on Strava, mate, as you know. I just kind of keep it off there most of the time. It's just one less thing to think about. I post a very odd thing. Like I post a social run every week. I'd post the odd run. But I don't think I've posted much this week. Do you know
I think
what, mate? It's been
last week there was 2 runs on Strava, and I was like, oh, this is a bit of a treat, right?
mm, maybe I should maybe just go and like put some of them up.
What
But
makes it worthy of Strava? What makes you think,
it's
yeah,
it's
go on in?
it's random, literally
Yeah,
so
okay.
random because there's definitely nothing like ultra impressive about my training. There's nothing like that's like he's just hit that pace in training or like no, there's nothing that stands out. So I don't even know, mate. I think sometimes I just fancy popping one up and I just pop one up. It's pretty random. No rhyme or reason as we would say. So yeah, I can't even see what's actually public and what's private, but yeah, I think pretty much all of it's private. But I'll run you through it anyways. How does that
Mm,
sound?
that sounds like a dream.
Good stuff. So we're a bit giddy this morning.
Maybe it's the evening for me, but 100%, it's a bit flustered now.
Yeah, we're a
Jesus,
bit
let's go.
giddy. Need to relax. So I think we finished up last Friday. Like I actually took you right up till last Friday, so we're not kind of recapping the full week. I'll recap essentially from
The
when we finished
weekends.
recording last week. Yeah, the
Yeah,
weekend up until like today, Friday, when we're recording. So
beautiful.
Saturday morning, as I said, we were out Friday night. Had a couple of pints of Guinness, so it was a wee bit dusty Sunday morning, Saturday morning. Not too bad. I think I only had maybe 4, and yeah, a little bit a little bit less sleep than usual. So we were home pretty late. So Saturday was I actually got up and got out a little bit later, like 9:30 or something, and done 6 by 4 minutes at like aerobic threshold. So just like a really light threshold workout. Um, just controlling heart rate because it was pretty muggy and warm. So I was just keeping the heart rate under about 100 and kept it under 145 beats per minute off like a 2 minute float recovery. So I was kind of still moving during the recovery. So it was essentially like a tempo run, really. And then I finished that and did 5 by 20 seconds fast, just strides. I had the carbon shoes on, so I just thought, yeah, nice opportunity to just get some strides in. So I did 5 by 20 seconds. Like I said to you last week, I'm really trying to wake the legs up again and get some pop and zip back into my legs. So that was Saturday. Sunday then I just did a very relaxed 15 miles with a friend of mine, Chuck. So we headed out for Chuck joined me for I think about 11 of those. We met up and just did a very relaxed long run. As I said, I'm taking the emphasis off the long run. In fact, I don't even know if I'll do a really long run every week. I might alternate it with like a sort of a lighter threshold session, but longer. So emphasis is off the long run for now, just given what I've come from and where I'm going with training. And then Monday, I got out for. So I did actually on Monday like 10 by 400 meters, but I did them probably at about 10k speed or slightly slower. So quite relaxed for 400-meter reps. And these were off like a full 400-meter jog recovery. So again, like I would just call it like feel good speed. I was still working aerobically and they were off a full kind of 400-meter easy jog to recover. So that was a nice session just to get my legs turning again. And then Tuesday, I did another workout with the club on Tuesday night, but I got out for a 5 mile shakeout Tuesday morning, just a very relaxed, easy jog. And then Tuesday evening was 6 by 5 minutes with the club, the group that I actually helped to coach here in town. So I hopped in for that session, and we did like progressive 6 by 5 minutes. So started out at like what I would call marathon effort and progressed, or LT1, and kind of progressed towards LT2 towards the end. I didn't really progress the session too much because I trained Monday evening. I'd come off I'd trained Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So yeah, I just kept it fairly relaxed pretty much. That was 10 miles in total Tuesday night, including the warm up and cool down. And then Wednesday, I headed out, and yeah, I was out, started, running pretty easy, and was one of those days when everything actually felt great.
Mhm.
Everything felt super smooth, really relaxed, and I kind of progressed as the workout went on. I had a heart rate monitor on and kept the heart rate pretty controlled, like under 130. I kept it sub 135, but it was one of those days where I could have progressed faster, but I knew there was a bit of fatigue in the body, so I just didn't want to allow it to get carried away. But I did 10 miles, and I kind of progressed from 7 minute miling down to about 6 minute miling by the end. Just felt really good. It was one of those, like I said, one of those runs that you get uh, almost rarely in this sport when you're training so regularly, but just that you could just like one of those days that you wish, like, I wish I had a race today. The body was
Yeah,
just moving really
just
well.
clicks. Everything's
Yeah,
clicking.
just clicked. And then to finish Wednesday's run, I added some hill sprints. So I just finished the 10 miles, probably walked for about 2 minutes. And then I did 8 by 8 seconds on just the hill here where I live, and just took like a 2 to 2.5 minute walk recovery between those. So like a neuromuscular workout as opposed to even like an aerobic or an anaerobic stimulus. It's not a workout designed to improve your cardiovascular fitness. It's a
Mm.
neuromuscular
Just
workout.
recruiting
So
those bigger fibers.
recruiting those fast twitch muscle fibers, and exactly right. So I always enjoy. I'll be adding those in weekly now again. Um, as long as the body plays ball. They're the first thing that I would pull from my workout plan or my training plan whenever there's maybe like a calf issue or some tightness in the body or like an Achilles issue. I would always pull the really, really high intensity stuff or the like hill repetitions, and they combine both. So as long as the body plays ball, they'll be left in there. And then yesterday, um, again, I went out to do a bit of a session. So you'll notice like training more regularly, but in a very relaxed kind of manner. So volumes came down. Um, sorry, not a very relaxed manner, but in a fairly relaxed manner. Like I'm not putting huge amounts of stress on my body in these sessions. But yesterday I did 15 times 200 meters. Those 200 meters were just done as like strides almost. So um, pretty relaxed, not emptying myself on a nice flat stretch of road. I didn't measure it. I just went off my watch, and they were just off a 200-meter jog. So I was running the 200 meters in like anywhere from 33 to 36 seconds, just depending on kind of what direction I was going and the wind and so on. And then I was jogging the 200 in about 1 minute 10, 105. So a nice relaxed recovery. And then today I'm on a rest day. So that's pretty much
You
the
racing
week to
today?
date. No,
No,
I'm
you rest day. Race day.
resting today.
Even
Yeah.
there you go, guy. Even the accent gets me sometimes, and I'm only across the river from birth. But yeah, there you go.
So a very different training week, which is really great because it's a very novel stimulus for both my body and my mind. But a very different training week to what I was doing in the marathon build. And now that I've progressed kind of out of that recovery phase, I'm starting to train again. So I'm again with the sort of added intensity, I'm being very conscious to manage the intensity as well. I'm
Yeah,
listening to
yeah.
the body. Um, I am sort of monitoring like just my general well being and my feeling like day to day. I think that's kind of the biggest teller of if you're recovered and if you're recovering from the training. And yeah, I'm enjoying it, mate. So next week I'll go back to I'll do less of the shorter repetitions, and I'll add in probably one or two like moderate runs where I kind of let the heart rate go up to like 145, 144, and I'll add some surges into those to keep that kind of turnover in my legs. So I'm kind of just working off of like a 10-day, 2-week schedule at the minute.
Wow.
Um,
Yep.
and just working that way. So yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, on that point, I was about to ask. I was like, are you kind of coming up with these sessions? How far in advance are you writing it? But I guess it's getting out that mindset of, oh, everything needs to be done on a 7-day calendar week, because ultimately, like what we're doing when we're running or chasing adaptations is forgetting that, like, the 7-day week is arbitrary, right? It's like those adaptations can take place over 10 days, 2 weeks. So you can actually have 2 weeks of, or 14 days of different sessions, and still kind of give yourself enough time to recover without letting things stagnate. So you like to work over kind of those longer
That's exactly
distances.
right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. So, you know, if I put together a condensed block of, like, for example, this week, if there's been quite a bit of intensity, so that could mean that I take 5 days of really easy training, just depending on my feelings. So yeah, there's no, like you say, the week's an arbitrary figure. Like your heart, your lungs, your blood, your muscles, your bones, your ligaments, etc. They don't know what 7 days is. They just know stress, and they know kind of they just know stress, really, don't they? So the amount and the time of stress is going to dictate how much recovery those parts of the body require. So yeah, listen, I'm not too fixated on like days, and I'm really happy to shuffle things around and you know make training suit like my environment, the weather, the people that I'm training with, all that sort of stuff. I actually listened to a great interview on the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast with Dan Nash and Owen that we talk about from time to time. Just released over the last couple. Do you listen to that one?
I don't. It's on Apple, isn't it? So I don't think it's on Spotify.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, mate. I listened to it on Apple, but they had Phil Sessamon on over the last week, and I really like. I'd follow Phil Sessamon and his kind of training and everything else. He's got two Hungarian Vizslas, and they're my dream dog. So I think that's what ticks the box for me. But no, he's just a real.
What are
He's
they?
like
Sorry, what dogs?
a Hungarian
Hungarian.
Vizsla.
I
Vizsla.
need to look this up.
Yeah.
Hungarian.
Last week we were looking up football boots. This week we're looking up
I
dogs.
know.
Do you like dogs?
I do. I do like
Um,
dogs. I'm actually a cat person. Mate, they're very cute puppies. Crikey. Look at that.
Yeah,
You can't see
they're
it 'cause
very
it's on my
they're very
screen, but yeah.
active dogs. So yeah, we would. Well, I would love one. I don't know if Kira would love one, but I would love one.
Is she a dog
But they
person
need
or?
not so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
she likes them, but we don't have a lot of room here at home. So those dogs need they need first of all they need a lot of exercise. So they're great for runners. Phil takes us
Yeah.
out for he takes us out for pretty much all of his runs. But they had Phil on, and he's a class athlete. He's a 2:08 marathon runner. I think he's 15th all time Brit. But he's got a really interesting story because he started life as like a middle distance athlete, like a 1,500-meter runner, and then progressed like randomly towards the marathon. I think he had some. They done some testing, like physiological testing, when he was quite a bit younger. I think he's around like 29 or 30 now. But when he was a bit younger, he done some physiological testing, and his coach or the tester, I can't remember, basically put him down as a future marathon runner. And Phil was like really really taken aback by it. He was like, "No, like I'm a track runner." So he's obviously he's gone down the marathon route, and he now loves the marathon and is kind of fully invested in marathon running and making. He was. I mean, he was on the Olympic team for Paris, and that's kind of his thing now. But his interview was brilliant. Talking about, that was the point that I was going to make. Talking about how he moves training around to suit him, and like as a professional athlete, it actually doesn't really work for him to travel to altitude and to travel to training camps, because like his life is in Leeds. His partner, his child, his dogs, like Leeds is kind of like his happy place. So he just stays there for training and he feels like he gets more from that because he's happy there than altitude. But the point that I was making was that, yeah, he moves his training around to suit he's not fixed by this rigid schedule. Like he has to do threshold on a Tuesday, then he has to go to the track on a Thursday, and then he has to do a long run with whatever. He moves it to suit, like I said, the weather, his friends, his life, just all those bits and pieces. And that's a guy that's operating at the very top level. So yeah, like your body doesn't know what day it is. Yes, there is a lot to be said for routine, I do think, as well, especially if you're a very like if you've got a young family, for example. If you've got 2 or 3 kids and they've got swimming on a Tuesday, football on a Thursday, gymnastics on a Friday, all those bits and pieces. Routine's really important, and like it's going to give you something to sort of be quite strict with yourself on, or like give you something to aim for each week. But yeah, like if you need an easy day, take an easy day, and if you need, I always say to myself, like when I kind of operate off of like a green, amber, red kind of scenario. So if I've got a workout planned and I go out, I kind of know within the first 15 to 20 minutes if it's a green light, as in like green to go. And I'll sometimes know if it's an amber light as well. It's like I went out for that 10 mile on Wednesday, and the first few minutes of that, I was like, I'm not too sure here if this is going to be a good run. And I was like thinking, if that amber light turns into a red light, I'll just pack it up and come home after 30 minutes, 40 minutes and do nothing more. But I got into it, and that amber kind of changed to green, and I progressed to a steady run and felt really, really good, and then added the hills on at the end. So I always think kind of that way. Like I never go out thinking like this has to be done today. Rather, it's more like if my body's feeling good, I'll do X. If my body's feeling really bad, I'll do Y. And if I'm somewhere in between, like the easy hour is the bread and butter, and I'll just do the easy jog for an hour and come home. And that's kind of how I tend to take the day to day. And yeah, I mean, that results in, for me, like consistency. And that's the most important thing in the sport, isn't it?
I mean, that definitely sounds like, I mean, for me, it plays into the idea that psychology is, even going back to what you were saying about some people, they're like, oh, well, look, if I'm happier being at home with my family than going off to a training camp, I'm going to have better results from that. And you basically placebo yourself into it being true. Right. So it all comes into the idea that like the psychology has such a profound effect on how you train. And like I guess my question was, obviously you can be so, I suppose, relax. Like for me, I need structure, I need rigidity. That's why I get up at the same time and go to the bed at the same time every day, even on the weekends, because that kind of just clicks in my head. But would you say you've always been the kind of person that's been able to go, yeah, look, I'm feeling kind of amber red today, I'm gonna call it quits when you've got a run scheduled, or is that something you've had to learn essentially?
Yeah, I was definitely the opposite before. I was definitely dictated by the schedule before. If something was on the plan, it had to be done. Um, so it's been a learning and a process to kind of come out of that and to change the way I think. And I think, like we mentioned it before, I think a couple of weeks ago after London and after Ballarat, it's like the most important qualities, having that like awareness of self and understanding yourself as a person, and understanding like just having that emotional intelligence to kind of know you. So I know that fundamentally I'm the type of person that wants to train and wants to do more and wants to work harder. That's like ingrained in me. So if I'm aware of that, I can make better decisions. I know that it's hard to explain. I think, do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like,
I do.
if anything, I need to, like, as I said, I've said this before, if anything, I need to hold myself back as opposed to push myself forward. I'll always endeavor and always want to do more. So I'm that type of person. I think most runners generally are, sorry, that type of person. So I think when you have that, when you, when you really understand that about yourself, and also you're able to make the call in terms of like, let's just pull back today, for me that's resulted in better results. And yeah, whenever that kind of shift in your mindset is validated by better results, well then you're just like, well, it just leads to doing that more often as opposed to the opposite, and letting your kind of emotional brain dictate, like, oh, this, it says in my training plan that I'm doing this today, so I have to do it. Whereas if you're the opposite kind of person that needs the kick up the backside, And it's not just like there's black and white here. There's a spectrum of different mindsets. But if you're the opposite, then maybe you're the type of person that does need to override the kind of the desire to stop and do less. You need to maybe say to yourself, like, no, like you're fine here, and maybe you should push through and do a bit, do the session as planned. So I think the most important quality here is understanding of self.
Mm.
Um
Reflection.
yeah, but yeah, I'm not afraid to pull the pin and just like, but beforehand, I wouldn't. I'd have really struggled to do that because I thought, like, no, it says that on the schedule. So if it says 10 miles, I'm doing 10 miles. Now, if
Mm.
I go out and I feel absolutely horrendous, like I'll do, if I feel terrible, 30 minutes is all I'll do, because I'll go out 15 minutes and I'll always make a call at 15. And if at 15 I feel terrible, I'll just turn around and come home for 15 minutes. So it's a 30-minute easy jog. And I think, right, well, that's 30 minutes of recovery jogging. And 30 minutes isn't enough to put sort of additional fatigue into the system. And if I'm good, I'll just carry on. And like there's also been those days where I felt horrendous at 15 or 20 minutes. I've come back and I've went out in the evening and I've felt amazing. It's amazing what a few hours can do and how your body just, like, it's operating at different, yeah, it's operating in different ways or different levels of performance and it can change in the course of 4 or 5 hours. So I think, no, I just think when you know that, like when you know that your body can come around again very, very quickly,
Mm.
it's just like, well, what odds is it going to be to just rest instead of going and grafting your way and grinding your way through the worst run in the world, for to come back and like be more fatigued, feeling worse, um, and then being in a bad mood because like you've just had to grind for 60 or 70 minutes, and you've had to drag your legs around. um Yeah, like that run's probably not giving you anything. It's like if you're having to completely drag yourself around the roads, uh, you're losing efficiency, you're running economies all over the shop, and you're just introducing more fatigue than what the aerobic gains are worth. For the sake of a 60-minute jog that feels horrendous, that's giving you maybe a little tiny bit of like aerobic stimulus, the additional fatigue or the additional stress that's introducing into your system, the aerobic gains aren't worth.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? In fact, the aerobic gains aren't even happening because you're already in you're in a state of fatigue or a state of whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And I can completely agree about it's all on a spectrum. Like it depends because we'll have a lot of listeners, obviously, who are earlier on in their running careers. And even myself, I have will come onto it in a bit, but I've got a lot to learn from this kind of mindset because I'm the kind of person that pushes through things when I don't need to. And I think one thing that's the clearly or from my lens I can see that you've been able to do is learn from experience, and that's the best thing. It's like knowing that, yeah, okay, so like there is the kind of person, as we said, that I think accepting that, to be honest, let's call it a suboptimal session is better than no session at all. Let's say you're someone that it maybe isn't doing that much as a whole and is someone who will kind of pull the pin on a session. It's like, well, in that case, like, yeah, look, it might be raining or you might be a little bit tired, but to be honest, getting out and just doing something is better than nothing. But for that person who is a little bit more kind of intermediate to advanced when it comes to running, doing 5 or 6 days a week, maybe even some double sessions, it's like, look, you're already on the precipice of doing too much. Therefore, it's like you can't really do too little. It's not going to happen. So, and that is kind of getting to know yourself and then learning from experience. Like thinking back on those sessions because we've all done it. We've all ground grinded ground for a session before. It just doesn't sound right, does it?
Yeah.
Um, and finished and gone. Yeah, look, that was dreadful. I probably didn't get too much from that, and then it's the following day as well because you're like, man, I feel the hangover of that session because I just like put so much fatigue on the back of it.
Yeah.
And then being able to come back to it, like, man, like you said, 15 minutes in, I recognize this feeling. I've got to run again tomorrow or maybe even this afternoon, this evening. I'm going to just kind of call this a 30-minute easy and accept that ultimately that's probably what's better for you across that day than hammering it,
Well,
right?
that's what I think. And like there will be different opinions on this. You know, there'll be people that maybe just think grafting and pushing on is the thing to do. But I also think it's important to remember that, like, as a distance runner, like as an endurance athlete, you're training through fatigue. You're always training with some fatigue in your body. Like it's not as if you're going out on a completely fresh, recovered body every time. That's what we taper for, and that's why we peak in periodized training. So it's important to know the difference. There is that kind of residual fatigue that's like just part and parcel with being an athlete and being a runner. But then there's the difference of like, okay, like the body's just not right here today.
Mhm.
Just like call it quits. So there is a difference, like there is days when like I'll be thinking about going out and I'm like, I'm knackered, I'm tired. And then you get out and you get into your warm up and you're fine, because like work and life all has an impact on how you feel, mentally and physically. So yeah, it's just listening to the body and sort of knowing yourself and knowing your own body, really well to sort of make the right decisions. But yeah, more often than not, I'm feeling a little bit tired, and it's it's just a case of getting through it, particularly in marathon training. Like when you're running high volume and you're training for a marathon, like yeah, you're never you're never fresh. You're never feeling particularly fresh. But yeah, how's your week going, mate? You've a little bit to talk about, I think.
I do, yeah. It's funny we've spoken about all that because I'm going to teach you what not to do now, guys. So yeah, look, I where did we leave off? So Friday was when we last spoke. Saturday I have my kind of scheduled day off. That is always my day off from running unless I'm racing on the Sunday. And then Sunday was so let me dial back a couple of weeks. So essentially I've got the same session pretty much every week on a Tuesday. That's treadmill, that's an aerobic, and normally an LT1 session on the treadmill. And a couple of weeks ago, out of nowhere, kind of completely random, I finished the session, went through my afternoon at work, got home. I took my shoes off, as most people do, as they get through the front door, and I was barefoot. And as soon as I put my foot down, I felt pain in my heel. This is about 2.5 weeks ago. And I was like, oh, that's weird, like, because it was so acute, right? And I thought nothing of it. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to wear my slides around. And then I kind of next couple of days, it kind of felt like it was getting better, but I was still finding it quite hard to walk barefoot. And then I kind of just ignored it and carried on walking everywhere in slides or with shoes on because when I did that, I didn't feel anything. And I will just kind of caveat this by saying I felt nothing running because as soon as I was in shoes, I was fine. And like, yeah, there wasn't anything there. And then I noticed probably back half of last week, it kind of was feeling a little bit different, like again a little bit swollen. And then Sunday's run, it was a really good run, might I add. It was um I did two I did some like longer kind of tempo work. I did 2 by 20 minutes, just around kind of a park, which is a kind of 500 meter, almost a track 'cause it's completely flat. So it was just kind of, it was nice and flat. I was in the carbon shoes, felt really good. Heart rate, um, when my heart rate monitor was working, it was in a good place. But I noticed that I was like, okay, I'm actually feeling the heel for the first time. And again, it wasn't pain. There was no sharpness. I was just like, I can feel there's something wrong. And what was happening is there was basically swelling and I could start to feel the swelling. Um, and that was the first time I was like, okay, I need to stop ignoring this because at the time it had been about 2 weeks. And then I went out on Monday, felt kind of okay. That was my easy run. It was like 10K with a few hills, and I actually felt fantastic. Like it was so comfortable. Run felt good. Didn't really feel much through my heel. I did like a resistance session in the afternoon as well. Didn't really feel it. I was like, cool, happy days. I can just go back to ignoring it, and then Tuesday went back for my LT1 session on the treadmill, and this was, man, there was in my warm up there was an amber light flicking on, and it was getting kind of dark during my actual sets because it ended up being, God, what were the intervals? I should have this up already. It was about, it was 6 by 6 minutes, in fact, at my marathon pace. So nothing excessive, but I think it was because I was wearing Alpha Flies and they're pretty stiff. There's not much give in those. And I kind of, by the end of it, I was like, I'm starting to run a little bit kind of awkwardly to compensate to not put pressure through my heel because of that swelling. And I finished off. I actually spoke to the physio. I was like, "Oh, look, this is what's happening. Um, like, I might have to, because I'm very fortunate. Obviously, Amph, who I did a episode with a few weeks back, works out of the gym that I work at, and he's such a good human. He's like always got time for everyone. As a matter of fact, and he was like really like, okay, we might have to get a scan on it, just to, because basically he was reluctant to go into any treatment without knowing what it was. And again, I'll come on to what the potential diagnosis could be. But what did it for me is I had 15K on the Wednesday, just 15K easy, and I went out kind of feeling okay, but then it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And by the time I, so I'm an idiot, for anyone out there who's listening, and because I'd started, I was always like, "Oh, I just want to see if I can get to like 8K to 10K," and because I was, and I kind of, a deep down look, I knew it. I'm not going to lie to anyone here. I knew I was changing the way I was running. I was like running more through my forefoot, and I copped it on Thursday because my calf was really not bad, but like a lot of DOMs in my calf that I wouldn't normally have, and it's because I was changing my running technique. But by the end of that run, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to, I think, call it quits until I know what's going on here because this is getting worse. And I think that Wednesday, um, I just, I could feel the fluid like physically. I was like looking at my heels back to back, and there's basically what has happened is the bottom of my heel is filled up with fluid, and I've got a scan. So it's Friday evening today. What Amph, the physio, said, he's like, look, because he had to play around with it. He did some poking, some prodding. And he was like, look, what we need to do is get an X-ray to rule out a stress fracture, because that could be, it's a possibility. It's unlikely, but because of the way he was palpating and how it was kind of showing the symptoms or when it was uncomfortable, was like, look, we just need to rule it out, because if it's that, I kind of obviously shouldn't be doing any running at all, frankly. The next possibility was bursitis, which, for those who don't know, like bursi is just kind of a fluid that sits around some of the joints and can get a little bit aggravated and inflamed. And again, this isn't really a good thing because, aside from letting it rest, the next best way to deal with bursitis is, in an acute sense, is a cortisone injection, which I don't particularly want. It's quite evasive. It sounds like an easy thing, but it's quite a big needle. And
It's not great
yeah,
for long term sort of healing
nah,
and health.
nah, and it basically doesn't fix the problem. It just gets rid of the symptoms, and then if you don't
Yeah.
address it, so
Great if you
I
were great if you were going to the Olympics next week and you had to be good, but yeah, not for long term sort of help.
Yeah, nah, because I'm not making any money off this. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. And then best case scenario thus far is basically there's a fat pad that sits under the heel. And it's just that's got a little bit pissed off. Kind of all this is likely what's happened post marathon. Um, and maybe there was a little bit of kind of damage, is maybe a harsh word, but a little bit of wear or damage that I didn't realize. And all it took was kind of one kind of innocuous thing, me walking through the front door and maybe heel striking, because that was when I first felt it, that just kind of like was the straw on the camel's back, and it set it off, and then me continuing to run through it was it. But yeah, what it has meant for any eagle-eyed watchers on Strava, followers on Strava on Instagram, is that the last 2 days I've been on the bike again, because obviously I'm clipped in, and because it doesn't put any pressure through my heel, I can basically get some kind of cross training in. But the downside to that is I got a really sore ass because I've been wearing a bib with the cushioning. For anyone that's not done any cycling, you have basically like they're kind of half shorts, but they actually have a bib that goes over the shoulders, and they've got nice padding that goes over your gooch and your bum to stop any rubbing. But still, there's like an adaptation that has to come with that. So that's the only downside. But yeah, man, it's like I said, it's
Mate.
Friday evening. I'm going in for my X-ray and an ultrasound tomorrow morning, and hopefully, if they can upload, because I didn't realize they're not allowed to tell me anything because the people that are doing it are just they're essentially photographers. So they'll take the pictures and then they'll upload it. I might ask because apparently some of them might be a bit cheeky and be like, look, I just want to know if it's a stress fracture. That's the main thing I'm worried about. So I might just kind of go, look, between you and me, does it look like there's any breaks there? I just would rather know. Otherwise, I'd have to wait for them to upload and speak to the physio. And that, to be honest, that might actually be the same afternoon, but I can't be sure because it's a weekend. But yeah, not great because I'm supposed to be
Oh man.
doing racing next weekend, so that's kind
Yeah.
of up in the air. But yeah,
First things first, mate.
sorry.
We need to. You've just referred to radiographers as photographers.
Yeah, bro. That's all,
We're going. We're getting cancelled.
nah, man.
Uh,
To be honest, I was about to say that they're too small a minority, but that is exactly what
no,
makes
there's
them a
there's plenty there's
minority.
plenty of radiographers, mate, and I don't know if they'd be too happy. But no,
If
just
you're
joking.
if
If
you're
you're
a
a radiographer,
radiographer, you're a glorified photographer, right? No, um, they'll come after me knocking at my front door. No, I'm sure it's a very noble profession.
well, yeah. You said it, mate, not me.
Yeah.
Um, no, so I was just going to speak to you about when did you well, I'm sorry to hear, first and foremost, like we didn't really talk about this before we
Mm,
started because you mentioned that there was an issue and we said, you know what, let's just save it
yeah.
for our chat. Um, so yeah, sorry to hear that you're injured, mate, but when did it first kind of come on? Did you say a couple of weeks ago you felt something?
Yeah, it was probably, I think it was 2 weeks last Tuesday. So it'll be 3 weeks this Tuesday that I literally, it was so friggin' random and frustrating because in your head, you're like, all I did was just take my shoes off and start walking. And there was pain. I drove home fine. I was walking around, fine. And yeah, but like undoubtedly it wasn't that. There was probably something there all along. And like I said,
Yeah.
it was almost inevitable. But yeah, it would have been 3 weeks this coming Tuesday that I noticed it, and I was aware of it. Um, but look, like I said, there was no pain. Like I'm confident to say there was no sharp pain. It
It
was just,
it was a whisper.
but maybe. But then there was, yeah. Look, it was a
What do
whisper,
we
man. I can't lie to
what do
you.
we what do we say about the whispers, mate?
I know you gotta listen to him, bro. I know.
No, mate, I don't need to patronize you with lessons here. It's not the
Look, I
time nor
feel bad
place.
enough. I feel bad enough.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
feel bad enough, mate. But listen, it is kind of part and parcel with sport. Is that
Mhm. 100%.
these things pop up, um, and like yeah, sometimes I've had a few injuries over like particularly in the first few years of running because I made every mistake in the book, but sometimes when you're injured and you pick something up, you feel like you're so far away from running. Like I remember getting injured a couple of times and being like, I'm never going to be able to run again.
Mm.
Like
That's what it feels
you
like.
almost you catastrophize, don't you? Because you can hardly put your
Yeah.
foot to the ground or like just walking around hurts, and you're like, how on earth am I going to be able to run fast again? But yeah, the body's amazing and it heals up, and yours will heal up too, and it'll be fine. But yeah, mate, I'm sorry to hear. I suppose it's if any time it's a good time. You've done your marathon.
Mm.
I know your focus is kind of on the marathon, and you're in this phase now where if there's ever a time to kind of pick up something, it's now, as opposed to 2-3 weeks out from your goal race.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be interested to hear, mate, how the scan goes. Are you having an X-ray or an MRI? Do you know?
So it's X-ray and ultrasound. Yeah, no need for an MRI. I think basically obviously the X-rays obvious, that's bone, but then the ultrasound is literally just to locate where the swelling is coming from, because if the swelling isn't due to a fracture, it's likely one of those two things, and you can pick them up for an ultrasound. So seem to think that's sufficient. And
So
sorry.
worst case scenario, stress fracture. Best case scenario, the fat pad issue.
Fat pads, yeah, as far as I'm aware, just because it's kind of like, realistically, with a little bit of taping and then management, I think the fat pad can be, I wouldn't have to stop, and it'd just be a case of modification. Obviously stressy, that's no running for at least kind of 4 weeks. Because for those who don't know, like any break, any fracture, that's 6 weeks for full healing. And then I think they say 4 week after 4 weeks you could probably start rehabbing. But then yeah, it'd probably be no running for 6 weeks, which is, and then yeah, look, I don't exactly know how the bursa would work, if there's a treatment protocol prior to the steroid injection, but I presume there's something. But we'll
Listen, it
see.
happens to the best of us. Our good friend Jakob is carrying a
He's
niggle at the
injured.
minute.
Yeah.
He's had to come home early from training camp, and he's had to delay the start of his track season.
Mm.
When things were looking really good, do you know? I mean, that's when you're at the most vulnerable too. Whenever you're like kind of going really well and you're really
Yeah,
fit.
yeah.
I always think that's when you're most susceptible to an injury. When things are nearly functioning as good as they could be, and fitness is in a great spot, but. Yeah, you'll be fine, mate. Like you'll be fine. I'm intrigued to hear a little bit more about the cycling.
Yeah,
Have you spent some time setting the bike up to be a nice fit for yourself? Have you spent a little bit of time doing that? Because I think that's by far the most important thing if you're going to do some cycling, is that the bike fits.
100%. And I'm like, to be honest, we can go into that. Let's make it a cycling pod for the next few weeks. No, yeah, is first off, I just want to like caveat by saying I've been so fortunate because I haven't had any injuries that have stopped me running since I started, basically. And I've had like niggles pop up that I've managed and been able to run through, but nothing to this scale. So I'm like, I think that perspective has really helped me. Just kind of reminding myself of that. But yeah, so I I haven't really used the bike as yet because obviously I was so focused on the marathon training. It's been in my garage for a little while now. And for anyone that is unfamiliar, like I've got like a type of kind of indoor trainer that is basically as close to riding a real bike inside as you can get, essentially. And you can even mimic your actual bike setup. Not that I have a bike at the moment, but you can get it set up to you. And so yesterday I didn't use the one that I have because I was at the gym. So I used the indoor trainer at the gym, which is dreadful, mate. It's one of those fan powered bikes and you
Yeah.
can't really adjust the fan. So I was like, my RPM was I was struggling to hit 60 and the wattage was high. It was like I was basically climbing in the saddle for an hour. The only thing that saved me is I think to be honest, my fitness is so high that my heart rate didn't really get above 115. It was just like my legs. I could feel there was a lot of lactate build up in my legs, but no soreness today from that. And then it took me a little while, but I set up the bike. I set it up in the app based on my dimensions, but it was off. So I'm not sure. I obviously made a mistake somewhere. So I actually went back and just played with it from how I remember I used to ride, and I got there eventually. It was quite comfortable, and like I said, the main kind of sticking point was getting used to the saddle, just sitting in the saddle and that rubbing. But again, because I didn't go hard at all. I did like a 15-minute warm up, and I did 30 minutes, which included a few kind of efforts, going from like a minute to 3 minutes. And man, it kind of put into perspective how kind of fit I am, because I felt I could have spoken to you like we're talking now, and the only thing that I would have felt is like my legs, and it was my legs that was stopping me going harder. I was like, I don't want to push this too hard. It's a novel stimulus still. I don't want to end up being like mega sore because let's say by some miracle I'm able to run again in a couple of days' time. I don't want to have to be dealing with the fatigue from smashing a bike session. So I was basically listening to my body. I was like, I'm not going any harder than a 7 out of 10. And it was my legs, like I said, because it came back to me pretty quick. I felt pretty comfortable in the bike, but I was like, man, there's a lot of lactate building up in my quads, especially. They were like
Yeah.
blowing up. I was like, I'm going to have to really be careful with this. So I did, like I said, a 15-minute warm up, half an hour that included some 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute intervals, kind of like going up and down, of various kind of gears. And yeah, and then just did a 15-minute cool down, nice and easy. Heart rate didn't really go much above, I think, 142 to 145. This is like, it was a comfortable session. And if someone had gone, I need you to do that again for another hour, I could have done, frankly. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And to be honest with you, I think were I to not be able to run for whatever reason, like, cause if it is a stressy, like clearly I've been able to do a bike session, no problem. I'll probably just do as much as I can on that to try and maintain the aerobic fitness
Mm.
and just accept that the legs are going to get a little bit
Bit
detrained,
cooked.
deconditioned. Yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah.
more so from running, because
Yeah.
you'd lose the specificity. But um, yeah,
You
I
won't
did.
lose as much as you won't lose as much as you think either. Do you know?
You don't think?
Um, nah, it'll come back very quickly. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I try to stay positive. I don't think it is a stress factor. I'd be surprised, very surprised. But um,
Mhm.
yeah,
And is that fluid? Is that fluid buildup? Is that common with a stress fracture?
I actually don't know. Um, Especially in this area, like normally, I mean, I've only broken toes in the past. I've broken a couple of toes, and to be honest, they're not stress fractures. Those are acute impact fractures, but they do swell up. So I think probably what happened and what tends to happen with stress fractures is obviously it's happening slowly over time. So I think that's why I'm getting the X-rays, just because the way it's demonstrating is that it has gotten more swollen and slightly more aggravated as I've continued to push through it. Um, so yeah, I think it's possible. But yeah, I'm trying to stay, like I
Yeah.
said, trying to stay positive. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
Fingers
literally
crossed for you.
got my referral here, so I don't forget it by my desk. And the top thing on the notes to look out for is a calcaneal stress fracture. So that's the thing
Yeah.
they're
That.
going to do first, get that out of the way, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed, mate. Hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's not a stress fracture, and you don't have to take that really long extended break. But yeah, like you said, you've been lucky enough to be injury free since you pretty much started running. So it's not a bad thing to have an extended time off. You know, I think as runners we think that having 5-6 weeks off running is the worst thing in the world. It can be the best thing in the world for you.
yeah.
Um, you
You know,
know,
I
I
think the
know
most
it's
annoying thing is obviously I'm wrapped. I got the marathon, and the marathon is always going to be my primary goal. And we've got like 20 weeks till Melbourne, so plenty of time. But I spent so much on races between now and then. Like the 10K I'm supposed to be doing first week of June. That was like a relatively cheap one, but I think I paid for Run Melbourne half marathon, which is mid-July. I paid like $150 for that, which
what?
is like, I get it. It's it's like literally in the city centre. It's like right going through
Mate, that's
um
expensive.
Flinders Street. But I was like, yeah, that's a bit steep. And thinking back, I was like, oh, maybe I should have got insurance on this one because
That's expensive, mate.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's like,
expensive.
and they're milking it. They're like, oh, look, we're sponsored by ASICS and all this. I'm like, yeah, that's to be honest, I think that's more than what I paid for Ballarat, and it's probably in line with what I paid for the Melbourne Marathon. So,
Do you know what it is?
uh,
It's like supply and demand, and it's not really on. Like running's supposed to be an accessible sport, and I do get like the popularity of running has boomed, but race organizers just are putting the hand in, and just, yeah, like I've seen it, it happens a lot here as well.
Mm.
When I've seen the prices rise of, I know the price of everything has risen over the last 4 or 5 years, but with the popularity of the sport, the price of race entries has risen exponentially over the last few years. It's a bit of a joke, like,
Yeah.
because of the type of, like, running. Like I just said, it's supposed to be an accessible sport. It's supposed to be like, yeah, just a sport that can be accessed by all. I always think, did we say this before? I think with races there should be an option to forego like a medal and a t-shirt if you don't want that stuff.
Mm.
And you just literally want to race. Like, people just want to go and run a race. And if that's your thing, like, you should. I know, I understand, by the way, like a medal, t-shirt, and whatever else is being provided. That's a big thing for people, and I get that. But I think there should be the option for both. Like, if you want to.
100%.
Yeah, it's that, mate. That's so expensive to run a 10K.
Do you know what's more that or that one that
What's the
one
name of that race?
that one's the half actually. So the 10K's at Albert Park. That's run by an organizer called Sri Chinmoy. They do like races
Oh yeah,
all over Australia. Really good. They're really accessible. They kind of are very reasonable with their pricing. They don't make a big like fuss about it. They're just like, I think it's just basically to cover the cost of having you come and run. But the one that's 150, that's Run Melbourne. So
hmm
obviously they've kind of got the ASICS sponsor. They're kind of making a big deal. And do you know what the start time for the half marathon is? It's 6:30 a.m.
that's early.
in the middle of winter. I'm like,
That's
I get
early.
it. It's right in the center of the city and whatnot,
I think
but
that race has always been a very early start. I
yeah,
remember seeing that race, and like I remember watching the leaders of that race finishing at like silly o'clock. You know, they were finished their race at like, yeah, like before
7:30
8
pretty
a.m. Yeah,
much. Yeah.
7:30, 7:40 a.m. Um, that's very early. I don't think I'd be
Yeah.
fit to run fast at that hour.
To be honest, I'm probably one of the few that would be okay, ironically, just because of I can like, if someone's like, oh, you need to wake up at 4 o'clock is fine. There's days where I wake up at 4 o'clock normally. And to be honest, if I'm racing at 6:30, it probably just, I'd dial it back to a 3:30. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, for a normal person, like 6:30 is that, yeah, that's early. That's
I
very
know
early.
Australia, like we talked about it a while ago. Australia is a different way, isn't it? Like, it is very much an early morning kind of place. Just different culture.
Still there's levels to it though. On a Sunday, like I don't think there's many
Yeah,
people other than me, obviously, that want to be getting up earlier than 6:30. But look, I think, yeah, let's not deny the fact that it is quite a lot of money, and I'd be a little bit kind of, again, it's my fault, but frustrated if I wasn't able to run that one, given how much I've spent. But again, been doing a lot of meditation recently, Adam. We haven't really
good
spoken
man.
about this. I know I'm trying to better myself as a human. And I kind of just remind myself that, look, if I'm not able to do it, it's just money. It's just stuff. I've spent it. And yeah, there's nothing I can do. It is what it is, really. So that's
Good.
kind of
I
keeping
like your
me
attitude.
centered. So yeah, just kind of roll
Yeah,
with
it's
the
water off a
punches.
duck's back, mate. It's water off a duck's
100%.
back.
God, so many
There's
cliches.
there's far worse. There's far worse things in life than losing a few pound to a race. You might be able to transfer your entry too, or like or defer it until next year, or sell it to someone else. If the race is sold out or something like that. I know there's always people keen to buy race bibs
The
on
only thing that
Facebook groups
worries
and so
me,
on.
I don't know if because you know how some races they literally because they were trying to upsell big, as you can imagine. On this one, they were trying to sell, um, kind of like, I can't remember exactly what, but when I was checking out, I was like, obviously they offer kind of bib postage or bib collection. There was so many extras they were trying to sell with it, like stuff that you like live tracking, that kind of thing, for expensive as well. We're talking like 15-20, and I was like, this is pricey. So I worry that they're one of the places that will kind of go, look, you've got the option to I think it's like insurance for about $20, where you can tap
Ah,
out
yeah.
and get your money back. And obviously I didn't click that because it's extra money. So if they're the kind of place that would be like, oh well, you didn't do the insurance. So therefore, if you can't race, that's your fault. You can't transfer the bib, which is
True.
stupid because if there is someone else that wants to run, you're basically not letting them do it for the sake of some money. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Mm. Oh well, get the body right, mate.
Yeah,
Keep me up to date with the X-ray, and
you'll
fingers
be the
crossed
first to know.
fingers crossed you'll be grand. Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you will be. I don't think it's a stress fracture.
I'm staying positive as well. Like even today, I went for a walk this afternoon after my ride, and I was just like, yeah, look, I think it's again, it is what it is, but I'm feeling confident that it's better than it was a couple of days ago. And I've been icing hard. I've actually had my foot in a little ice bucket that I've made, and it's definitely brought down the swelling over the last couple of days. And I think not running, funnily enough, has helped. So
No way.
hopefully, yeah, funny that. Um, hopefully, it's just a case of management. But yeah, that's to be honest with you, that transitions us nicely over into weekend plans before we uh, kind of head off for the morning and the evening. And to be honest, that is my only plan. I've got my X-ray and or let's call it a date with the radiologist photographer in the morning, and that's just about it for me, and kind of run or cycle pending on Sunday. But what are you up to, mate? What's happening?
Yeah, pretty quiet weekend, I think. Well, we're going to the match on Sunday. We're down in Dublin on Sunday evening for another match. Um, not a whole pile else, mate. Rest today, so I'll finish up. I've been really busy over the last couple of weeks, like I was talking to you there. So I'll get finished up this evening, and yeah, have a couple of days, hopefully, just to recover and relax and just chill out. So not no major plans for the weekend, mate. Bar the match on Sunday. So looking forward to it. What about
I've
yourself?
never I've never even asked actually. Just quickly, are your team? I don't really know much about Gaelic football, but are your team doing well? Are they any good?
Well, we won the All Ireland last year, so Armagh are current All Ireland champions. So it's the equivalent to winning the grand final in
There you
the
go.
AFL.
Yeah.
We definitely were a surprise winner last year. I think we surprised most of the country that we won last year, but that was the first time. Last year, there's 32 counties, and last year was the first year that we won it since 2002.
Mm,
And
long time.
in our history, we've only won it twice now. So last year, 2020, what year are we? 2025. So 2024
24. Yeah.
and 2002 are our only ever times winning it. So yeah, we are doing well, mate. The way it's working at the minute is you're essentially in like a group with three other teams. And to progress to the next stage, you have to kind of finish in the top two in the group. So we won our first game last week that we were at, and then we played Dublin in Dublin this Sunday. So they're a good team, and hopefully we can do the business and take the pressure off our final game. So that would be yeah. The final is in. I mean, we have to win like 4 or 5 games between now and getting to the final. The final's in like mid-July, so it's tough. It's very competitive.
Mhm.
There's any one of maybe 6 to 8 teams at this stage could win it. So yeah, we're doing pretty well, which is nice because we had many years of suffering. Um, since like the glory days of the early 2000s. The last, oh, like between 2004, 2005, and sort of 2021, we started to have a bit of a resurgence. I think 2020, 2021, we started to kind of rise up the ranks again. But those years between like those that 15 year period was a very dry spell, and
Bit bleak.
a bit bleak, kind of like the Manchester United of now. Do you know?
Ooh, there you
It
go.
was it was tough. I had to get
That's
that in there.
pretty bleak,
Um,
frankly.
mm, my father-in-law is a big United fan, so it's
Hey,
always good to
we
get that
can
in there. You know.
we can talk all the smack on Man U. That's absolutely fine. I can get behind that. So if you support Man U, then no, I'm joking. I'm not gonna piss off any Man U.
Rotten
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
core, that club is, mate. Rotten to the
It,
core.
it is pretty bad, and that.
It's bleak. So
I don't.
yeah, we had dryness and I mean, that's sport, isn't it? Like that's just
Mm.
that's the beauty of sport, is whenever you get those good days like last year, and sort of the glory days of now, that you just enjoy them so much more, because there was the years of many years of many tough years. So yeah, we were at the final, myself and Kira both, in 2002, when
Wow, there you go.
we were
You'd have
8 years of
been
age,
8, yeah, because I was 8 as well.
and then we were at the final last year together. Yeah, so it's pretty special. Like we love going, and we love following them. It's a good family occasion to go out for the day, and sort of bring the picnic and set up stall, and then go to the game. It's a great day out. So we'll
That's
enjoy
funny.
that this Sunday. Good
I was at,
memories.
I was actually going to ask, because obviously you're the away fans going into Dublin. It's Dublin away this weekend. Like, go on
Dublin
then, let's
away.
have it. Is it a little bit rowdy, like the kind of English
Not
football?
really. Not
No.
really, mate. No, it's not. It would put you in mind of the AFL, I think, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Um
They'll sit you together
that's
and not
that's kind
worry about anyone having a punch up.
exactly. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens. I'm sure it happens, but no, it's very similar to the AFL. It's kind of about where you're from, as opposed to kind of, I know English football is like that as well, generally speaking, but you have people from Ireland supporting
Yeah,
English
yeah.
teams, and traveling over. It's really about where you're from in Ireland, and you follow the county that you live within, or that you're born within, and everything else. So yeah, that'll be good fun on Sunday. Looking forward to it. It's always a good day out. And Dublin, Croke Park's a massive stadium. It's where the finals held every year, so
Yeah, right.
it's always a good day out to get to Croke Park. So that should be good.
Fantastic. Something to look forward to. Well, I hope
Looking forward to it.
your
We
team
weren't going
gets
to
a
go.
result.
We actually weren't going to go. We'd sort of said early in the week that no, we'll leave it this week, because it's a Sunday evening, and just with work on a Monday morning, and everything else, it'll be a fairly late evening. And then we just decided, like, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're like, nah, you know what, we'll go. We'll go.
Yeah,
It's always a good day out. So yeah, it'll be good.
yeah, fantastic. Um, and yeah, it's
What about
following up.
yourself?
Yeah, no plans for me. Literally, um, all my football is over. Finally, I can rest. Or finally, until next month, frankly, because we've got the Club World Cup. But got a couple of weeks off of watching my Chelsea. And we had a great end
I
to the
love
season.
I love how you refer to it as my Chelsea.
You have no
You know,
idea. I've been trying to explain to people that I literally bleed blue. Like, Chelsea is so much a part of my life. It's an unconditional love of mine, along with my wonderful partner and my son. I need to say that
my
because
Chelsea.
she's in the next room, and she might hear. So, yeah, but no, Chelsea is an unconditional love of mine. But yeah, we're done for the season. Good end. So I think the plan will be kind of, hopefully, I don't want this scan to take long, so I can get home and we can do something. But I think I mentioned last week, trying to get out a little bit more, kind of go for some walks if the weather's nice while it's still nice. And yeah, to be honest, not much more. And then if I'm not racing next weekend, we got a public holiday, so I'm sure we'll do something then as well. But yeah, going to be
Good
a nice
stuff.
quiet one.
Good
Rest
stuff.
and recovery. But look, guys, I think that's probably a lovely place to wrap it up. And again, I hope everyone's running is going well wherever you are. And thank you, as always, to everyone who has kind of made it this far and has liked, commented, subscribed. And as always, if you have a couple of minutes just to share kind of what you're listening to, which episode you're up to, or even just send us a message, like tell us what you like about the podcast, what you want to hear us talk about. Even that kind of thing goes a really long way. So thank you so much for that. And look, I guess we'll wrap it up there. We're looking forward to podcasting again for you guys soon, and we hope you have a wonderful week wherever you are. Thank you and take care.